Well, I mean that is in the sense that, we have this mobile internet today that you can access from phones wherever you go. But the way that we experience the internet today is that you're looking at it, right? It's on screens in front of us. And I think that this next generation, you're going to be in it, right? So instead of basically looking at a document, maybe you'll have a hologram in front of you that has a screen and you're going to be able to be editing it with someone who's sitting next to you, and it'll feel like you're in the scene rather than you just kind of have a phone or have a computer and kind of the internet is something that's on a screen in front of you. You're going to be immersed and present with the people who are there, right? So at the point where you're at your dining room table and someone has a hologram next to you, are you looking at the internet, or are you kind of in that scene at that point? I think that's the sense of presence that I'm talking about. And then all this other stuff about breaking down physics, I think comes from that. But the sense of presence is really the fundamental defining characteristic of the metaverse, I think. It's, and that is, I just think in our personal interactions, that's the thing that just creates a lot of magic and is so unique compared to every other form of communication that we have. So I think having a computing platform that can deliver that is just really meaningful if the vision of what you're doing is to try to help people connect better. So, going back to your question around, what pieces are we going to see first? I think, it's an interesting question in that I think when you're kind of a startup, your framework of doing something for 15 minutes, then doing something for 15 minutes after that, I think that sort of hyper prioritized serialization is the right way to think about things. I think somewhat of the art of running a larger enterprise is parallelism and being able to do a bunch of different things. So I think that's been a big change in terms of how I think about running a company or what we're doing that I've needed to adapt to over time, because there is something that's just really fulfilling about being able to do a thing and then get feedback that it's done correctly and then kind of go do the next thing. And whereas parallelism, it's so abstract. You're like working on a handful of different things and they're each sort of on a longer time frame and you don't necessarily get as much feedback. So you need to be a lot better about finding signals that show that the work is either on track or not. So you can say, hey, this one's not going well. I need to go check in on that. In terms of, what are people going to see first? The Quest VR headsets are getting quite popular, right? So that I think was the first thing that we shipped as part of Reality Labs that has had some mainstream success. I mean, it's not as big as a phone or a computer yet, but the jump from Quest 1 to Quest 2 in terms of sales was very big. We're going to continue shipping devices at a pretty fast cadence. The basic way that we're thinking about this is we want to have basically a consumer device in the price range of where Quest 1 and Quest 2 have been. But then we also want to have a work device, basically something that will eventually replace your laptop or your workstation at work, where you'll be able to do productivity in it, where that gets to the experience of like you're at your desk and you can just kind of open your arms and get your kind of perfect workstation, get as many screens as big as you want laid out. Collaborations, that way you can kind of feel like you're there with people who you're working with, and they can either show up as avatars or holograms, or one of the screens in VR can be a screen to access Zoom, and people who aren't in VR can basically just show up on your desk or at the head of the table when you're in a conference room meeting with other people in VR. So I think you're going to get productivity, collaboration, a bunch of that kind of stuff. So you're going to have this consumer line for VR, and you're going to have this work line. We're going to ship the first version of this work line later this year. This is basically what Project Cambria is. I talked about it at Connect last year. It has a lot of new features in it, from color mixed reality to eye tracking and face tracking, like we talked about before, for being able to make eye contact and have your facial expressions just translate to your avatar automatically. So I think there are going to be a bunch of things that are a big step forward. But I think the bottom line is you kind of need two, because I think a person who's going to use the device mostly just for hanging out or playing games, I don't know, maybe they probably wouldn't want to pay necessarily $1,000 for a device. But if you're replacing your workstation with it, then I know a lot of companies would be willing to pay that amount or even more to have something that increases I mean, if I could increase the productivity of every engineer at our company by 2%, that would be worth a lot of money, right? So you're just going to be able to pack more technology into that. And then we're kind of going to alternate where, 1 year we'll do the consumer version, then the next year we'll do the work version, and then the next year we'll do the next consumer version, and so on. So that's kind of what you're going to see on the VR side. In terms of Metaverse software, Horizon is really, I think we're putting a lot of energy into that. And Horizon is really starting to get quite built out. The creator tools are starting to get a lot better. And now a big part of the focus is going to be just growing the community, because if you're building a social tool, then obviously having people there is an important feature for that once it's at a certain level of maturity. So, we're going to focus a lot for the rest of the year of not just having it on Quest, but also making it so that you can jump into a world in Horizon from Facebook or Instagram, or when you're in a video call on WhatsApp or Messenger. It doesn't just need to be a kind of video call with your camera. You can sort of be embodied as your avatar and be in a virtual world in Horizon, interacting with people. So I think that those kind of experiences will be pretty cool too. And because a lot more people have phones than VR headsets now, for the foreseeable future, I think that's going to be important for getting that off the ground. But that's a big next step too. And I would guess that over the next 12, 18 months, we'll see really quick growth in the Horizon community and for creators, and I'm pretty excited about that. And then on the AR side, we shipped the Ray-Ban Stories product, partnering with Luxottica. That was sort of the first smart glasses product. And we're basically taking two approaches on AR. We're basically trying to say,